Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stand. I'm Mark Goldbridge and Garnacho is leaving Manchester United. I'm absolutely knackered. I literally just got the phone call. I was just in the gym. Got a little gym in the garage and I was just doing a little bit of stuff, which is why I'm drenched. This is what we do. I look like a bloody strawberry, but if I don't do this video now, I'm popping out for a couple of hours. So before the shower, I'm here. And I tell you what, who's having an early shower, Garnacho. He's leaving Manchester United. This is coming in from David Ornstein. It's coming in from Fabrizio Romano. We will read you what has been said. I just want to say, at some point, people are going to have to start giving us some credit because we said this on the Thursday morning on the 10 o'clock show, straight after the final. Garnacho is 100% leaving Manchester United. And that came from an amazing source. So whatever about the squad, which I'll tell you in a minute, being informed today, this decision was Thursday, probably Wednesday night, to be honest, and we broke it. So I'm not shocked. I think people have wasted their energy for 48 hours slagging Garnacho off or saying he should stay. He's going to go. But some people quite rightly want that confirmation from Ornstein or Romano. I get that, and we've got it now. So this is where we're at. I haven't got my glasses on because they'll steam up. I'll give it a go because I want to read your comments. But, well, to be fair, I hadn't seen this. Fabrizio Romano said about 45 minutes ago, Garnacho expected to leave Man United in case of good proposals for both parties. As reported on Thursday, United are open to selling certain players, also to finance new signings. Garnacho is one of them. The winger attracted interest in January. Race open again. I'm against this deal still, you know, by the way. I'm still against it, but I'll tell you why in a moment. And this was in the article from David Ornstein. Ruben Amorim has informed his Manchester United squad he will remain in charge next season while telling Garnacho to find a new club. Following Wednesday's Europa League defeat by Tottenham, the Portuguese head coach offered to walk away if the board and fans no longer wanted him. He has repeatedly insisted he will not quit despite United staring at their worst finish in the Premier League era. They sit 16th in the top flight table. Sources with knowledge of the matter, speaking anonymously to protect relationships, well, of course, that's what our source does, indicate Amorim addressed players at the club's Carrington training ground on Saturday to inform them of his own plans and of those for Garnacho. Man United treat dressing room matters as private and declined to comment. Well, look, it's good that it's coming in from David Ornstein. It's good that it's coming in from Fabrizio Romano. And it's good that people can start to digest what we've known for a couple of days, that Garnacho will be leaving Manchester United. If you know anything about Ruben Amorim and the way he behaved at Sporting, whether they're fan favourites or not, if they act out of accordingly how he doesn't want them to behave, then they are gone. We've seen it with Rashford. We're going to see it with Garnacho. It's going to happen. The manager must be backed and he must be allowed to do what he wants to do. I will say this, though, it doesn't sit right with me that Manchester United are selling 20-year-olds who haven't completed their journey. I think it's a failure on the football club that this has happened. Whether that's a failing on Amorim, whether that's a failing on the ownership, whether that's a failing on Jason Wilcox, whether that's a failing on whoever, I still believe that 18 months ago, when this player broke into the first team, we thought we had another superstar. And 18 months later, like Greenwood, like Martial, like Rashford, it's another talent that has not fulfilled its talent at Manchester United. And at some point, that needs to be studied. We can't just keep blaming players. This football club, we've seen it with McTominay, we've seen it with Anthony. What is it about Manchester United and their inability to develop talent? And it has to go elsewhere to develop. And I will make a prediction right here, right now. Garnacho will leave and he will become a good player somewhere else. And we will all go, what did we do there? Why did that happen? And it's going to happen again. I think he has to go. I agree with Vang. I think he has to go, but it should have been 10 other players before him. But yeah, look, we're selling him because he has value. And the ridiculous thing is stupidly again, we have decreased his value. In January, we were talking about 60 million. 60 million because they wanted to sell him because of pure profit. We're now going to sell him because we've openly said we don't want him. Find a new club. Get out. Oh, yeah. Everyone's going to queue up now to give us 60 million. We'll do well to get 40 because everybody knows we don't want him and everybody knows he's fell out. So this tactic isn't a good tactic. We are not getting the best out of talent and we're selling it cheap because we're falling out with it. It's just not the way to run a football club. I agree he has to go. You can't say what he said after the match on Wednesday, justified or not. But this public airing of our dirty laundry is not going to help a football club that's broke. So again, it's another sad story. I understand a lot of people want him to go. I understand a lot of people want him to stay. But the bottom line is, if you want him to go, you want to get the most money for him. And if you want him to stay, if he's going to go, you want to get the most money for him. And neither of you are going to be happy because he's going to go cheaper because we've messed it up. It's ended up with a fallout. It's ended up with a go find a club. It's ended up in a situation where, can I just say as well, Garnacho wants to go. Let's not act like, people say, let's bring Sancho back. Sancho doesn't want to come back. People say, let's bring Rashford back. I don't think Rashford wants to come back. There's this myth that we're the power in this. There's this myth that Man United are this aura. Oh, I'd love to go back to Manchester United. Most people don't want to come back here. They don't. And Garnacho probably does want to go. He probably wants to go somewhere where he can play on the wing and play every week and be appreciated. And look, that system argument is a very good argument. But I think it's just another sad story. I think it's another sad story where another young player that had a lot of talent for whatever reason has fallen away. And look, I'm eyes wide open here. There is definitely issues around social media. There is definitely issues around personality. But again, and I'll say it again, Mason Greenwood, the warning signs were there with his behaviour off the field all through COVID. Brandon Williams as well. These are two young players that have fallen by the wayside at Man United. Here's another one with Garnacho. Rashford, it took a little bit longer, but it happened. Man United have got to look at this amazing youth team that they've got that they don't actually nurture as human beings. They're not actually providing the pathway to success. Ultimately, most of the complaints I see about Garnacho are about his arrogance, about his personality. Well, who's to blame for that? These young players are essentially pupils at a school, and we're not teaching them properly. So, look, Garnacho is leaving. That's what's happening, PK, and it's now coming out from David Ornstein. Obviously, we knew this a couple of days ago. It's not a surprise, but when it gets confirmed by the tier one established journalists, then, a lot of people will then believe it. I ultimately, I'm not surprised by this, but I would say this. I wish him all the best, and I hope he goes off and does really well and proves what a shit club we are. But I also have to agree to a certain extent that there is an argument about suitability for the system anyway. Is he really a number 10? And he's certainly not a winger in that 3-4-3. So I think with Cunha coming in and Ahmad getting back and us looking for another number 10, I don't really know where he was going to fit in anyway. And to be honest with you, when Ruben, and this is what I got from the other side, is when you've played all season, twice a week, been available, never injured, always putting the shirt on, whether you're performing well or not, you're always there. And then a guy who's missed most of the season starts the final and you don't. If that's not the biggest up yours, then you've got to see, sometimes you've got to get your umbrella up and realise it's raining. And I think Garnacho realised that on Wednesday. And I think there was no coming back from either side. I think the big thing here is how much money we can get for him, because the decision, that's all I've been thinking about for the last 2 days. I do think it's sad. Because it's another player we're throwing by the wayside for a shiny new toy. And I think it's a shame that that's the mentality in our fan base these days. It's always on to the next player. It's always on to the next manager. And I think at some point you've got to look at the failings of the football club, whether you like Garnacho or not, whether you like Rashford or not, whether you like McTominay or not. It's just a constant stream of players from our youth setup that we're letting go. Alanga's another one. And they go and do well elsewhere. And you've got to start looking at why this is happening. We're not very good at nurturing young players. We're not very good at it. We're very, very bad at it. And it's still something that Wilcox wants to push. But all I've been thinking about for the last 48 hours is how much money can we get? I think that's the most important thing. I don't think... I think that's the most important thing. It's just how much money we can get for him. And my hope is that there's going to be a bit of interest from a few clubs. We know about Napoli, and they have just won the Serie A, and they will be in the Champions League, and they are looking to replace Kvaratskhelia. So that's probably a really good fit. Argentina, Maradona was there. It seems like a good fit, but I think we're going to have to probably take about 40, 45 million and try and build in a load of extras and add-ons and stuff like that, I suppose. I mean, the scary thing about this is the scary thing about Mainu. He's 20. He's 20 years of age. In 2 years' time, he'll only be 22. In 5 years' time, he'll only be 25. It's like there is so much that could go wrong with this deal. And, you know, it's a brave, brave choice, but it's not something we've really ever done as a football club. We don't normally cash out before a player has actually fulfilled their potential. Yeah, it's, yeah. I mean, look, I've just seen a tweet here from Sam Pilger say, I've got a horrible feeling Man United will spend the next 10 years regretting selling Garnacho. Exciting, direct, in the club's best attacking traditions and still a long way from his peak. I don't know whether I'd go that far, but I certainly think it could be interesting. Look, what United have got to do. What United have got to do here, and I suppose the exciting thing might be, what United have got to do is turn another huge negative, because it is a negative, it's a failure. Even if you want it to happen, it's still a failure to sell a 20-year-old who 18 months ago looked like he was going to be brilliant. To be selling him at 20, it's still a failure. It's a breakdown of relationships. Ben Jacobs has just said as well, Man United wanted 60 million for Garnacho in January, but that price is now expected to plummet. So, yeah, that is a failure. What they need to do is respond to this by bringing in players that are going to excite us, you know. Do you think Garnacho will deliver elsewhere? I don't think it really matters, you know. I actually, you know what, honestly, that might surprise people, me saying that. I've always said Garnacho's got the highest ceiling at that football club. I've always said it. And people go, Ahmad, Mainu, this, that, and the other. That's fine. That's your opinion. Let's chill out. My opinion's been that, and I've already said it, so I can't pretend I didn't. I would not be surprised if he went elsewhere and did well. But to be honest with you, what does it matter? He's not a Man United player anymore. All that matters now is that we do a deal that somehow we get some value for him in the future. There has to be a sell-on clause wherever he goes. And we have to try and get as much as we can now. What I'm trying to say is we've got to be grown up here. We lost the Europa League final. We can't change that as much as it was important. I've known since Thursday morning Garnacho was going. So some of you are probably going, because Mark said that on Thursday morning, I don't believe it until Ornstein or Romano says it. And I accept that. They're now saying it, so it might be a shock for you. But some of us knew this Thursday morning and believed it. So I've known about this since Thursday morning, which was the morning after that devastating loss. So it was almost like another kick to the nuts that I'd already had. All I'm now thinking about, as I said, is the money we can get. As for him going off and being a good player elsewhere, we couldn't move this morning for comments about McTominay. Since January, we can't move for comments about Anthony. Some have said it about Rashford. I'm pretty sure we will be saying it about Garnacho. One thing I know about Garnacho is, and we all know is, he might dye his hair. He might be confident. He is frustrating in the way that he shoots. But I think under someone like Conte, he'll get sorted out. I think Conte is perfect for him. Absolutely perfect for him. I remember saying, and I don't want to change Amrin, by the way. This is not what I'm saying. But can you remember a few years ago when we sacked Ollie and Gary Neville sat on the telly and said Conte shouldn't be allowed anywhere near this club? And I said I'd take Conte in a heartbeat. Stylistically, it might not be what people want, but God, that guy doesn't take any shit. He's a hothead. And I think Garnacho has been a bit petulant at Manchester United, has made some bad choices at Manchester United. But what he is he's always available. He's another Delo and Bruno. He's always available. He loves football and he wants to be maybe better than he thinks he is. But he wants to play football. He wants to be available. And it's a shame that we've not been able to deal with that. And it is right that he goes. I think he wants to go. I think the club want him to go. And it's a sad end. But it is right that he goes. But, yeah, I would be pretty confident that under someone like Conte, with discipline and guidance, because he's always available, because he wants to play football, I think, and the system suits him there, I think it's very obvious that from here, he's going to go up. Because he's going to play in a team that suits his system. He's got a manager that wants him. I don't think Amrin wants Garnacho. Conte's going to want Garnacho, and he's going to want him to be successful, and he's going to discipline him. And I think it will be a great move for him, and I think he will end up being a good player. Will we be sat here going, what a mistake? Well, so what? Realistically, so what? We can't do anything about it anyway. I don't really care about what players go off and do because it doesn't make any difference whether they flop or not. We don't get any money for it. So I just hope that we use the money wisely. And I think it is another sad indication of what this football club has become because it keeps getting, these things keep happening. I don't think we're protecting our players off the pitch. And this has been going on for a long time. It was the other day I saw Brandon Williams has a suspended police sentence. You know, it's like some of the behaviours that some of these young players have in and around the Manchester area are just really weird. And the club should be all over that. We certainly used to be in the Sir Alex Ferguson days. You know, all the stories you hear about nightclubs and drink driving and this, that and the other, it's been going on for years. And the club have failed. And I'm not accusing Garnacho of that at all, by the way. I'm just saying that this is another young player who's fallen by the wayside at Old Trafford. I mean, what was the last young player that we actually developed? I'd like to say Rashford, but, you know, because he is 27 now, but ultimately, he's still leaving the football club, isn't he? So, yeah, it's a shame. It is a shame, but as I said, Amrin must be allowed to make the decisions he wants to make. The only thing I would say is, I think that reading between the lines, this was not a player that Amrin did want to get rid of initially. I think he wanted to turn him into a player. And I think since Mason Mount's come back, it's unsettled Garnacho and led to a fallout, ultimately coming to a head in the final. Amrin did get that wrong, by the way. It would be wrong of me not to say that. He got that wrong. He did. Mason Mount should not have started over Garnacho. And I'll argue that with anybody. He was crap in that game, and Garnacho should have started. But that doesn't mean that Garnacho's going to get away with saying what he said. And I would much rather, if we're asking that question, I would much rather be keeping 20-year-old Garnacho, who's available and better than Mount, than 25-year-old Mount, who's always injured. So that is a contrast, I suppose. But Amrin would rather have Mount. So we have to back Amrin and hope that Mason Mount can stay fit. I'm not negative about this, by the way. I'm not angry about this. It is what it is. As I said, I felt quite liberated and free since Wednesday because I felt that was the papering of the cracks. We have to do this or we're dead. And now you wake up on Thursday and the club's not dead. It's just in a mess. So let's back this manager. Let's see what he's got. Let's give him a pre-season. And the most important thing is let's give him some bloody players. You can't let Garnacho go and not bring in Cunha, Gyökeres, Mbeumo, Edison. These types of players have got to be coming in because you can't be letting people like Garnacho go and, you know, whoever else is going to go if you're not going to replace them with good players. So I don't want to see Garnacho go and Tyler Dibling coming in. I don't want another fucking 20-year-old. You know, bring us proper players who suit the system now. That's what I want to see. How much do we get for Lindelof, says Shane? Nothing. I'll tell you what, I'm actually drying here in front of the stream. Another pressure decision Amrin is making here, says Robert. I'd love to know what you think about it, Robert, actually. You know, I do respect you. We've shared beers together. We don't always agree, but I'd love to know what your thought process is. Rasmus to Ajax on loan, says Enchanted Angel. I think he'll do better than that. Sterling says, can Rasmus go with him? I'm against Garnacho leaving, but we have to start letting the manager make tough calls, says Paddy. It's the end of player power. My only issue with this, Paddy, is I completely agree with you, but my only issue with this is, and Ben Jacobs covers it perfectly, in January, we were going to get 60 million quid. We've publicly fell out with another player, and it costs us money. And you know, the whole point of Garnacho going was because it's pure profit. And we've just wiped £20 million off him by arguing publicly. Why do these things end up like this? Why do we not have relationships with our players where we can say, I know you're pissed off, but look, let's do this the right way. And it ends up public. And I think that's a failing as well. You know, for a football club that is... What irritates me about this is you're sacking hundreds of people, saving maybe 10, 15 million pounds a year. But then by publicly falling out with Garnacho, you've just cost the club 15 million for an argument. And it doesn't make sense to me. You're sacking people, hundreds of people, to raise 15, 20 million pounds. But you're falling out with Garnacho publicly, and literally that argument has cost us 15 million pounds. So that to me is just poor. But we know the club's run badly. We know it's a mess. Does not matter how high a ceiling. If we want a culture shift, we need to sell all the players with a bad attitude, says Attic. But that's a load of bollocks, mate. That is an absolute load of bollocks, because if Luke Shaw has a bad attitude and you don't know whether he has or he hasn't, he's not being shown the door because no one will buy him. Just don't be a hypocrite is what I'm trying to say. These people saying we need to sell Garnacho because he's got a bad attitude. He's not being sold because he's got a bad attitude. He's being sold because he's got value and a bad attitude, maybe. But if he was 32 and injury prone on 200 grand a week with a 3-year contract, he wouldn't be going anywhere because no one would buy him. It's all right being Billy Big Bollocks when you've got a buyer for a player you're trying to sell. But there are other players in that club who are bad for the club and they can't sell them. So let's not pretend we're being Billy Big Bollocks Man United suddenly. Oh, look at the way United are clearing house. Okay, go and clear house with that player and that player and that player and that player. Oh no, we can't do that though because they've got 3 years left on the contract and no one will buy them. So, you've got to think about that as well. I feel comfortable with the youth product going, says Robert McCormack. You weren't about McTominay. Should we go for Modric on a free, says Marcello. Manager name-checked his behaviour the moment he walked in the door. Signs have always been there. Player needs to grow up, says Corey. And I think he will do. I think he will do at Napoli if he goes there. Yor says, I don't get the hype about Garnacho. Hi, Mark. Surely Wilcox and Pavel should be assessing what goes wrong in youth development and how to prevent this from happening in the future, says the Beast. Off topic, what is Ancelotti's situation? Brazil. Parker. Bruno has gone. Listen to his interview on Wednesday, says Ben. I don't think he's gone yet, mate. Eric Ten Hag and Amorim need overly specific players. I mean, what I would say is, when Amorim was asked about Bruno and Garnacho in his interview a couple of hours ago, he did basically lump them into the same and talk about situations. If Garnacho's going, does that mean Bruno's going as well? Eric Ten Hag and Amorim need overly specific players, says Keel. The post-match interview with Garnacho, I, not team talk at all. We are United, not Players FC. I love Garnacho, but I don't like his attitude, says Nicholas. I don't like Luke Shaw's attitude. He's not going to go anywhere, though, is he? That's my point. I'm saying, let's stop talking about, let's get rid of this player and clear house. We're not clearing house. We aren't clearing house. I haven't got a problem with Garnacho going. He's gone, right? But let's not pretend we're clearing all the bad wood, because we're not. There's players at that club we can't get rid of. And I'm not saying Luke Shaw's bad wood. I just think we need to get rid of him. He's injury prone. He's on a lot of money and he's not very good. But we can't get rid of Luke Shaw. We can't get rid of certain players. So we're not going to be clearing house, are we? Amorim's such an L. There's no way you can convince me he's better than Solskjaer. Ollie, only way United can return is to sell your soul to the Middle East, says Owen. Do you think he stays in the Premier League? I haven't heard anything about where Garnacho's going to go, A2. I just think Napoli is the logical and best place for him to go. I'd rather see him leave to be properly developed, says Louis. Does Mainu stay now? I see him in the pivot, says GG. I think if Bruno goes, then Mainu stays. If Bruno stays, then Mainu, I don't know where Mainu fits in. I'm glad we're selling him. He's got a horrible attitude, acting like he's a superstar when he's been so inconsistent, says Yor. I think he's actually been our most consistent player this season behind Bruno, hasn't he, statistically wise? But look, we're arguing about something that's irrelevant. He's gone. The next, there's no point. There's no point anybody falling out over this. The most important thing is how much money we get and what we do with the money. Do I agree with this? In the circumstances, I actually do. I think it's better for him and I think it's better for Amorim. So it's fine. Do I agree with how it's happened? No. We've just wiped off probably 10, 15 million pounds for nothing, just over an argument. The big thing for me is what we do with the money, what the replacement is. Honestly, we should never be selling young players, ever. We should never be doing it. But we've done it before. We have, and we're doing it again. And I said, when Sir Jim Radcliffe came into the club, he was going to change this football club in a way many of us wouldn't like. We've never really been a club that sells players before they're fully developed. Chelsea do it. Sir Jim's in love with Chelsea. He's copying what Chelsea do. He's creating a conveyor belt of youth talent that you can sell for profit because it makes the club money. I wouldn't be surprised if Mainu's next. I don't think it will happen. But if we can replace Garnacho with somebody like an Mbeumo or a Pedro, then they are experienced players and we desperately need experience. I mean, one of my criticisms of Garnacho over the last few weeks has been shooting from distance selfishly. That's frustrated me. He does need to be developed, but we haven't got time to develop. So him going to Napoli is great for him. And if we can get decent money and replace him with an experienced player, it's great for us. It's just sad that we can't develop players. But that's not where we are. And that's what I'm saying. It's sad that we're having to get rid of players that we used to develop because we can't develop players. But I'd be a hypocrite if I said I'm not comfortable with us doing it now, because we need experience. We need experience. And that's the thing I'm concerned about. What does this money get used on? Because if we're thinking Mason Mount's the solution, we're going to be in trouble by September because he'll be bloody injured again. So we need to buy Cunha and we need to buy somebody else with experience to come in and play that position. Hope he joins Ten Hag at Leverkusen. No, he won't go there, Stego. The more crap we talk about him, the less we get, says Nick. Regardless of our abhorrent ownership, if a player doesn't suit the system, they should be sold, says Josh. Thank you very much. I never said feel comfortable, laugh any player, says Robert McCormack. Sorry, let me go back. I never feel comfortable with the youth product going. Sorry, Robert. Sorry. Apologies. I need a beer. It's been a busy... This Saturday's been too busy. I'm going down the pub. Too busy. 3 live streams on a bloody Saturday. It's too busy today. But Garnacho had 10 warnings about tantrums and leaks. You know the leak story. Can we not go there? Because you're talking to somebody who knows about who was leaking, and one of them is a player you don't want to be leaking. So let's not go there. It was solved by the club and it stopped. We didn't get a leak about anything for weeks. So the leaking has stopped. Let's not go back over old ground. It's a waste of time. He's being sold. It's about how much we get, and it's about what we replace with. We need to move on. I'm not comfortable with, and I said this yesterday, I'm not comfortable with people trying to pinpoint the blame on one player or the manager. The blame lies with the club and the way it's being run. And as I said last night, I think it really needs to be studied why we can't develop young players and why so many players leave here and do well elsewhere. That is a stain on this great football club, because we've always been about youth development and we're failing. We're failing at that. And we've always been a great club and people are going elsewhere and becoming great players. And we're failing there as well. So that needs to change. And where I do agree with people is, if you don't suit the system, you've got to go. Amrim's job is hard enough. You've got to bring in players that suit the system specifically. No more square pegs in round holes. Let's go and buy players with the right attitude, with the right hunger, with the right experience who suit our system. And if you look at someone like an Mbermo or a Cunha, or, you know, they are mid-20s, ready to make a step up and hungry. They're the sort of players you've got to bring in. It's why I want Gyökeres as well. It's why I want Edison. They're just the right age, ready to make the right move and come into Manchester United, hopefully with the right attitude. What you don't want to do is bring more young players in who need to be nurtured by players who can't do it. Very interesting to see what Barcelona do. I know I would rather take between Garnacho and Rashford. I think he's also better backup to Rafinha, says Caleb. Never heard anything about that, you know. Academy players need time, but we're forced to overplay them, which affects their confidence and also it gets to their heads. Thank you very much, Atik. Would you burst the bank for Joe Bellingham, says Keel? I don't know that I would, you know. I don't know that I would. I mean, I presume you're probably watching the playoff final, which I would never, ever in a million years be watching. Yeah, you know, maybe. No, I wouldn't go for Joe Bellingham, actually. Let me just be blunt. I think we've got to be... We can't be sitting on the fence anymore. We've got to have strong opinions, because I've never known the fan base be as good as it has been for a long time. I think there's strong opinions out there, but there's grown-up conversations. I think people are respecting people's opinions because the club is broken and it's run by prats. And we all know what needs to happen. Big decisions need to be made. Joe Bellingham is not going to fill me with excitement. Joe Bellingham is not going to make us finish in the top 4. We have to be in the top 4 next season. It's probably mission impossible, I agree, but we've got to... I reckon that's the way to go about this. The chances of us being in the top 4 next year are minuscule, but that has to be the plan. You've got to build a project to make it possible, even though it might be impossible. And I think Joe Bellingham makes it impossible. I think you've got to try and buy players that are going to make it possible. And Joe Bellingham's not that for me. Why would you not watch the playoffs, says Jude? Crap, boring. It's a waste of time. They're basically playing for money in a stadium tour. They're going straight back down. Bored. Boring. I don't think either team are very interesting either. Clip me up, I'm always right. 3 up, 3 down. And I tell you what, the winner of this game, straight back down. Snooze fest. Boring. Look at the leaders we had in the past compared to now. That's why we can't develop. There are no leaders for young players to look to, says Phil. What do you think about Porto striker, says James Wilson? Not been linked to him. See if we do. I hope there are some players out there that we've not been linked to that we maybe look at. I don't think Jonathan David's going to happen, CS. No. Very interesting from Caleb there about Rafinha. Thank you very much about that. But yeah, look, I think it's a shame. It's a shame, really, that it's ended up with a falling out because it's going to knock off value, which we could be spent. I mean, look, at the end of the day, if we get £40 million for Garnacho, but we could have got 55, that £15 million is an instalment on a £60 million player. So it makes a difference. You know, we're flying to the other side of the... Think of it like this. We're flying to the other side of the world to play 2 friendlies to earn 8 million when our whole squad could be having an extra week's rest preparing for next season. But we won't do that for 8 million. But a public argument between Amorim and Garnacho has probably cost us about 10, 15. It's just ridiculous. The reason we're going next week is for 8 million quid. And this argument's probably cost us that. It's just weird the way the club is run. We need a manager who develops Yoro, Mainu, Garnacho and Ahmad into our new foundation. Why can Amorim even stay in charge? I really don't understand, says Robin. Look, I get that. I respect that. Difficult decisions need to be made and they're not going to strengthen Amorim's position. I back Amorim. I want him to do well. I think the majority do. But he is damaged goods at the moment. He made a massive, massive error in the final in his team selection and his tactics and he got exposed. And he's going to make decisions now that are not going to be majority decisions. Some people are going to be very pissed off about this Garnacho story. Some people are going to be very happy. If he keeps Bruno, you take the people who are happy that Garnacho's going, and some of them will be pissed off that Bruno's staying. So we'll lose some there. And some people that are not happy that Garnacho's going are going to be not happy that Bruno's staying as well. So he's filtering... He's going to make a lot of decisions that we're not all going to agree with. And that's why this summer is so important and next season. Amorim sold the best players at Sporting and went on to win the league. Trust the man, says Jonathan. Can we stop talking about Sporting? What's Sporting got to do with Manchester United? Like, we brought Amorim in because of the job he did at Sporting. He's here now. What he did at Sporting is irrelevant. He came here because of what he did at Sporting. We can't keep referring back to Sporting because Sporting plays in a completely different league where the same 3 teams normally finish in the top 3 positions every year. And also, Sporting were run by different owners with different budgets and different expectations. This is Manchester United in the hardest league in the world with the biggest expectations, with no patience, and we don't know what his budget is yet. Rebuilding Sporting's not the same as rebuilding Manchester United. What I would say is, and I said it this morning, is that his behaviours at Sporting make what's happening with Garnacho unsurprising and Rashford unsurprising. He doesn't care for ego. He doesn't care for Player FC. He does what he wants, and that's what we want. But we can't say he built Sporting, so he's going to build Manchester United. I completely agree with you that we do need, Jonathan, patience, but we won't get that patience. We're not a club that does patience. So he's got to get this summer absolutely right. Absolutely right. Mr. Goose says Goldbridge turning on the manager. Look, I think enough of the internet today. I can't be asked to argue with idiots. I don't and haven't ever gone early on a manager. I was late on Jose. I was late on Ollie. I was late on Ten Hag. And I'll be even later on Amorim. But I'm not going to back managers when I don't agree with decisions. That doesn't mean I'm Amorim out. That doesn't mean I was Ten Hag out. It just means I'm not a sheep. I don't run around a field going bah and make jumpers. I just have opinions. I back the manager. We must back the manager, but it doesn't mean I have to be comfortable with everything he does. In fact, in life, that's quite a good thing. It's, whether it's your wife, your friend, your best mate, your mother, your brother, you don't just blindly agree with everything they do because they're human beings and they have indeficiencies as well. Nobody's bloody perfect. So I'm not going to agree with everything Amorim does. And I thought his managerial decisions on Wednesday were horrific. But I still back this manager. It's too early. He needs a pre-season and he needs backing. I just hope he gets the players he needs. Because I tell you what, if we start the season well, and we've got people like Gyökeres and Cunha and a couple of others, and we start the season well, people won't be moaning about Garnacho or Bruno going. They really, really won't. But it's what we do with the money. You know, Liverpool sold Coutinho to get where they are, so I think Bruno and Garnacho might be the way out for your rebuild, says Nevin. Exactly, but you've got to bring the right players in. What did Liverpool do with the Coutinho money? I presume it was people like Mane, Salah, Firmino, maybe Van Dijk. Probably one of the best front threes in Premier League history and one of the best centre-backs in Premier League history. So there is a way back, but Amrim has to find a way to get Mainu in the team, says Matthew. Legends. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to go and have that shower because I do not like being sweaty and then drying. I've got to get in the shower. We will be back. I have got to preview the Villa game as well, so that will be coming out at some point. But I just desperately need a shower and a couple of pints. It's been a long, hard week, and it's been a long day so far. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Stay safe. Smash a like and subscribe. I'll speak to you in a bit. Thank you very much. Take care.